The sterile aroma of overbrewed chicory and raw panic hung heavily inside the top-floor executive suite overlooking Chicago's overcast financial district. Silence stretched painfully thin as I stood unbothered in my tailored, obsidian black suit, allowing the youthfully arrogant woman across the mahogany table to stew in her own rising irritation. Chloe, the 26-year-old newly minted director of operations whose diploma ink was barely dry, scoffed aloud as she gestured dismissively toward my traditional attire, clad in a neon orange blazer that looked better suited for a late-night rave than a multi-billion-dollar fund pitch. She checked her phone for social media engagement metrics while complaining about my lack of modern energy. I had spent 2 decades surviving market collapses, federal regulatory overhauls, and incompetence at the highest levels, earning my reputation as the firm's quiet ultimate troubleshooter, while the 3 junior analysts cowered in the corner terrified of Chloe's family ties to the chairman. I maintained my composure and lowered my voice to a steady, commanding frequency that forced the entire room to lean in. Before the executive board could assemble, Chloe continued her condescending lecture about how her father had personally assigned her to lead the presentation to capture a modern vibe. Unfazed by her dramatic eye rolls, I patted my thick leather dossiers filled with risk audits and compliance metrics, knowing full well that real institutional investors care about net yield rather than superficial enthusiasm. The heavy doors swung open to reveal Julian, the firm's managing director, a silver-haired executive who had comfortably coasted on corporate politics for over 30 years. After praising his daughter's flamboyant outfit while brushing aside my stack of hard data, he instructed me to keep the warning reports hidden so they wouldn't ruin the upbeat mood of the pitch. Julian reminded us that we were selling a vision of the future rather than dwelling on the past, casually dismissing the 18 stressful months I had spent fixing the balance sheet after his failed venture capital blunder. I warned him directly that our prospective client was a ruthless sovereign wealth evaluator who destroyed weak proposals for fun. But Chloe whined that I was ruining her creative momentum. At exactly 8 o'clock, Arthur Vance, the legendary lead partner of Apex Capital, strode into the boardroom with an icy demeanor that instantly dropped the temperature in the room. Carrying a single leather journal and flanked by 2 anxious associates, he ignored the dramatic, overly familiar welcome greeting from Chloe and focused his sharp gaze directly on me. When Chloe dimmed the lights to display a chaotic slide deck promising viral brand sentimentality, Vance remained entirely unimpressed and demanded concrete customer acquisition metrics instead. The room fell into dead silence when Chloe stumbled over basic financial terminology, prompting me to step in with cold, precise data regarding our inflated acquisition costs and high customer churn rates. Outraged that I had exposed the reality behind their slashed research budget, Julian attempted to call a brief intermission to scold me privately in the adjoining kitchenette. Recognizing my sharp analytical mind, Vance bypassed the panicked executives, approached me directly in the hallway, and quietly asked how long I had been propping up the firm's fragile infrastructure. Vance acknowledged that my technical expertise was the only reason the company had not collapsed under nepotism, offering a rare smirk as he suggested a ruthless tactical plan. He instructed me to let Chloe proceed unchecked during the second half of the meeting so that her complete lack of preparation would fully expose the firm's internal governance failures. Gwen immediately jumped up, dimming the ambient lights with a remote control to launch a bright slide featuring abstract geometric shapes and the word revolution in bold neon letters. Mr. Sterling, we are completely reinventing our user ecosystem by pivoting toward an influencer-driven, gamified subscription tier that will maximize holistic consumer synergy. Arthur stared at the neon graphic with a look of profound, unbothered detachment before slowly turning his head toward Victoria, who sat as still as a statue beside her untouched water glass. Miss Vance, as the Senior Director of Risk Management, do you seriously expect me to believe that a gamified app interface will offset a 22% drop in enterprise renewals? Harrison began to interject with a nervous laugh, but Victoria met Arthur's piercing gaze directly, completely done covering up for a family that viewed her expertise as a disposable nuisance. The short answer is no, Mr. Sterling, because the app redesign actually diverted 40% of our core engineering budget away from critical security patches, directly causing those enterprise cancellations. Gwen gasped audibly as Harrison's face flushed a deep crimson, but Arthur merely leaned back in his chair, a faint, dangerous spark of respect flickering in his cold eyes. Finally, someone in this building who speaks the language of reality, please. Victoria, Hand me the actual operational audit while we let the Chief Strategy Officer process the concept of fiduciary duty. As Gwen burst into tears and fled the room to hide in the executive lounge, Victoria calmly slid her meticulous 300-page compliance portfolio across the dark obsidian table, taking back control of the room she had built from the ground up. Arthur carefully flipped through the thorough financial disclosures, nodding in silent approval as he realized that Victoria had systematically protected the company's core assets despite the management's best efforts to ruin them. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.